So the family drama that's happening right now on social media regarding Brian McKnight and his estranged children has a long history. And the more you dig into it and the more you talk about it, a lot of people are coming out and sharing their own personal experiences with Brian McKnight. They believe the rumors that he might not be the best dad, at least to not his biological children. But what is Brian McKnight's side? Let's unpack some of the history between Brian McKnight, his estranged children, and his new family. Welcome back to the Kempire channel, your number one source for pop culture news and music, entertainment, reality TV, and so much more. As always, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on breaking news when we go live or when we upload. So yesterday we dropped a video talking about Brian McKnight trending because a lot of people noticed that he posted this Instagram photo of his newborn baby back in January, but somehow, you know how the internet is, and based off of the caption alone, it said a lot. It said a lot because he said in this caption, he says, and because of our love for one another in regards to his wife, I realized my true reason for being here on this earth, and it's to be her loving, faithful husband and to create the legacy of that love, my namesake, all right, my joy, my baby boy, you. So here's the thing, and I know some of you only read a headline, you don't listen to the video, don't watch the entire video. Some of you are like, well, George Foreman named all of his children George. Yes, but he's actively in their lives, from what I know. It's not about the fact that Brian McKnight named his new baby Brian, even though he has a son, Brian McKnight Jr. It's the long history of him apparently disowning his entire family. So we're not going to rehash everything that we talked about in yesterday's video. It's to unpack a little bit more because after we did that video, a lot of you pointed out some other things on how Brian McKnight has been trashed for years. And apparently these stories about Brian McKnight and his kids have been coming out every couple of years. And apparently, I guess 2023, it was said, let's talk about it again. So on his Instagram, Brian McKnight actually, and mind you, you don't have to say any of these things on your Instagram, but he says husband of Leilani, and then he puts father of Julia, Jack, Kikoa, Mateo, who I believe is the child that they lost, and Brian Kanoa McCoy, who is their new baby. Julia and Jack are Leilani's children. And look, we are all about bringing them blended families and treating these stepchildren as your own, but not at the detriment of your other children. So I saw that. But then you dig a little deeper, and people were slamming him not too long ago for the birthday post that he did for Leilani's daughter, Julia. So people were slamming him for something that he said in this Instagram post to Julia back in December. Okay, so back in December, people were slamming Brian McKnight for this caption. So he posted this photo of Julia getting this new car, this new BMW. I don't know if he paid for it or mom paid. I don't know. All right. I mean, the fact that you're posing up with her with the ribbon on it, I'm assuming you and Brian and the mom maybe bought this car for her. Who knows? All right. The mom is a neurophysiologist, for those that want it, just some perspective. All right. So he posted in the caption this. It's the captions for me. It's not even the pictures. It's the caption. He says, today we celebrate you, Jules. On your birthday, your mom and I couldn't be prouder of you, and I couldn't ask for a better daughter than you. He has a daughter named Brianna McKnight, who allegedly was the product of an affair, allegedly. All right. So he says that I couldn't ask for a better daughter than you. Happy birthday to the best. It's like he just wanted to put more salt into the wound. He says, I couldn't ask for a better daughter than you. Happy birthday to the best daughter ever. Love you a zillion. So of course the internet was interneting when this post was posted because they're like, you have 3 other kids and you have a daughter. And you have a daughter. Someone alleged, I haven't seen this post myself, where he says, thank you for making me a girl dad. Mind you, he has a daughter, Brianna. So, I had to go find Brianna's Instagram, and Brianna talked about her dad and their estrangement before on her social media. But before we get to that, back in 2019, Brian McKnight Jr. took to social media and publicly talked about being abandoned by his father, Brian McKnight. And I talked a little bit about something else that he had posted about saying that I don't need to defend myself to you fans, because I guess a lot of people were slamming Brian McKnight Jr. like, oh, you're ungrateful, you're spoiled, blah, blah, blah. So he also posted this back in 2019. He said this in a caption with a picture with his father. He says, "I can't imagine abandoning my children, man. It's hard not to imagine the psyche of a man who can truly just turn his back on his actual sons, on his actual blood and creations. It's mind-boggling to me. I don't think there's any situation that merits the way my father was chosen to treat my brother, my sisters, and his grandchildren, one of which being his firstborn son, who also bears our name." So that's what another thing a lot of you are pointing out. Not only is there a Brian McKnight Jr., there's a Brian McKnight III. He says it's insane to me to have absolutely no empathy for the type of life be introduced us to, only to resent us for the life catching up with us. It breaks my heart, but not for myself, specifically for my siblings and my children. They don't deserve this at all, not one bit. And I'm not letting Ish slide, not for 1 second. I've tried my best to take the high road and be the bigger man and all that positive Ish, but there is a much bigger issue here when it comes to Black fathers, especially in entertainment, that needs to be addressed. He says, I believe there's a serious discussion that needs to be had, and a part of me truly feels like our story is one to begin the conversation that will lead to healing a lot of young men and women with abandonment issues. It's time to tell our side of the story. Brianna, as I said to you before, his sister and Brian McKnight's daughter, his biological daughter. So Brianna also took to social media to share her side of things in a long caption, which I'm going to read to you because I think it's important. So she posted this with a picture with her and her brothers from over the years. So and this post is she posted this back in August of 2019 as well. So she says this in the post. She says, "Daddy's little girl was never really a thing for me. Nobody understands what I've been through except for my siblings. Believe it or not, I'm not always the person I seem to be. I'm not always happy, and most of the time, I'm battling my own demons just like everyone else. I grew up thinking that the things that happened to me and my dad's relationship was my fault. I grew up thinking that he doesn't want to come visit me because he doesn't love me. Constantly put behind other kids that he would call his own while I'm cast into a land far, far away in the back of his mind." She says, "It sucks knowing that someone else who's not even blood related to you comes before you in every single way. It sucks knowing that my phone calls have to go through a stranger I barely know, that my text messages are read without a response, and that my stepmother tells me that they, quote, wish the best for me. Oh, hi, Leilani. It kills me to know that it's so hard for me and my siblings to get a word in, not one word. At a very young age, I was always second place in my father's heart." And she's the youngest of the siblings. So she's not that much older. So she continues, she says, "At a very young age, I was always second place in my father's heart, maybe even third, fourth, or fifth, depending on the situation. My father hasn't called to wish me a happy birthday in years. And yet I sit by the phone every single year, hoping that one day his heart will change. I'm so fortunate that I have two brothers who are father figures to me, who celebrate me and love me every single day, and that we make up the time that we lost. The anger and the sadness that I hold in my heart every day over this is sickening. It hurts knowing that my brothers went through this at my age and are still going through it, and that my little sister is going through this at her young age." Young sister, hold on. It says, I don't usually write things like this, but I feel like enough is enough. And like BJ, I want to share my side of the story. I hope that there's someone out there that has gone or is going through the same thing. Some teenage girl who deals with this ish constantly who can relate to me and tell her side of the story and know that she's not alone. She shared that, and I thought that was interesting because I did want to talk about Brianna's side of the story. And like I said before, she's quite young. And I know some of you are like, well, were they spoiled brats? Well, Brian did tell his side. He did go on social media and tell his side. At the same time, bringing up Brianna's apparent trauma. So let's get into what Brian McKnight had to say. So Brian McKnight took to social media to address the situation, and shout out to icecreamconvos.com that documented this back in 2019. They write this. They said, the crooner is telling a different version of the breakdown in his relationship with his children. Brian McKnight says that he didn't abandon his children. They are estranged. He went on to say how he's done everything for his kids, but he had to give them, quote, tough love and force them to grow up and be responsible instead of relying on him to take care of them financially. Then he began to spill tea by sharing that his son broke into his house and destroyed his new wedding photos, and he caught wind of his daughter allegedly sexting her older cousin and tried to intervene. Then he said his daughter's mother only had a baby by him for money anyway. This is something that Brian McKnight said on social media about his children. And look, we also understand that there are two sides to every story. Did he raise children that probably felt entitled, were used to a certain lifestyle? Were they a little bit, needed some growing up to do? Well, a lot of that can be said about children that didn't grow up as famous children. But to completely erase them from your life, to completely erase them from your social media, it seems a little harsh. All three are spoiled brats that are ungrateful. All three. Not maybe one of them or two, but for all three to have the same story, for countless people that have encountered Brian McKnight over the years that say, oh, that tracks based on my experience with Brian McKnight. And I think this is why people are now starting to be like, you know what? I think I kind of believe what the children were saying back then. Now more than before. And based off his behavior on social media, so after this started trending yesterday, he started limiting his comments on his Instagram, because when I originally went to it, you could easily just comment and there would be no problem. No, he started limiting that. Some of you have said, oh, I believe it's Leilani that's posting on his social media because they have the same stuff on their social media. Regardless, he knows his social media. He knows who he's the father of. And if Leilani, and we already told you this, Leilani, if he has it in his heart to do this to his own blood, what do you think he's going to do to you and your children? He really doesn't have a connection. And then some of you also pointed out, he did an interview not too long ago, and I talked about this a little bit in yesterday's video. He did an interview where he says that his first marriage, he felt like he was forced into it, and he was forced into having a child. So some people felt as if maybe Brian McKnight Jr. did not like the fact that his father said that. For it to come this far and to be where we are today in regards to their relationship, and the fact that this story constantly comes up every couple of years, look, we know family drama happens, but Brian, I feel like all the smoke is around you, not necessarily the children. Guys, as always, I want to know your reaction to another update in regards to this story and more of the background of how this family came to the estrangement that they have. Let's continue this conversation in the comment section. As always, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on breaking news when we go live or when we upload. Thanks for watching.
Ooh, you bring the lighter, I got the fuse. You make a fire, I'll ask you.